Just like that, Doomsy is a real challenger. You guys smash the link, crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So we got the chance to see, well, how is the Proto YCS? How did Genesys do in comparison to, the main event? Now, there's only 232 duelists for this, which is, I mean, for an alternative format, you think it'd be a little bit more, but it just proves on how many players wanted to just go play main format Yu-Gi-Oh! And I mean, I don't blame you. Honestly, this format does have a lot to explore, and that's fine. Now, your breakdown for this. We had two Radiant Typhoon challengers. Radiant Typhoon actually ended up winning the Genesis Proto event, and technically did win the main event as well. So, I mean, you did get to see double the Radiant Typhoon action actually doing its job. Now, we did have Doomsy, which, by the way, Doomsy was one of those decks that I had hoped would eventually do well in this format. And unfortunately, I mean, Doomsy got broken apart by the Wind Kaiju. It's just kind of the unfortunate thing that happens. You can't always maintain a good field. And, something's kind of got to give in the end. We also did get to see Draco Tail coming along very, very strongly. And it was playing the Shadal cards, which was very interesting. We also did get to see Onomatomat Utopia. Yeah, they've lost some of their tools because they got priced out, but that doesn't stop them from still being a good challenger. We also did get to see Vanquish Soul Regenesis. What a combination of cards. But I mean, 2,500 attack is the anchor point, and as long as you can get a monster in, you're good. We also did get to see Monarchs doing its job. I am not surprised to see Monarchs being a very good deck in this format. And we also got to see Cool Tune bringing up the rear here. I mean, Cool Tune should be thriving in this format, considering the fact of all of the tools that they've got necessarily going for them. So what were our winning list? So Alan was our first place list here. Also only playing 2 copies of the Twin Storm Deities, which is fine. Radiant Typhoon package, a little bit pricey, but this list was also playing triple Mirage and Nightmare, which did make me chuckle a little bit when it got Ghost Ogred. But this was one of those cases that you actually get to see this card being a massive powerhouse tool in this deck. Because, I mean, drawing 4 cards and then just MSTing it feels, dare I say, a little bit unfair at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's cool. We also have Ultimate Slayers for spot removal. You have a lot of interesting tech choices in the extra deck here, which are fine. And we also did see this list playing Dimensional Fissure here, kind of do the job. Also, Book of Eclipse getting in personal with cleanup. But honestly, this looks like a good Radiant Typhoon list, Getting to play some unfair cards like this is pretty good. Next up was Doomsy, piloted by Nicholas Moore. And you know what? He got to play Premature Burial in this, which was a pretty funny thing, actually, just seeing that this deck had tool options like this. Now, this deck is basically cost-free. You get to deviate and actually test out, actual hand traps. You have access to Ashes, Moonlit Chills, you have Ghost Ogres, you even have a little bit of a slot to Premature Burial, but also, I mean, the rest of your points are going into the Utopic Future Draco, which I think was one of the most important end board pieces that this deck functionally kind of had access to. Also did get to see, yes, we are playing Medius the Pure in here. He's a big help for this deck. But the way that this deck looked like it performed all weekend, the trap card was MVP. Players were not ready for this, and the fact that, Doomsy finally got a spotlight showing, gosh darn it, I think was very, very well worth it. Next up was Edward Strom's powerful Shadal challenger. Now, the fact that, you only get to play 1 5 mana in this deck is kind of scary. But this format, you get to play triple Malulu. Alright, like, if I get access to triple Malulu, then we can get places, You obviously have access to Construct, which, by the way, I think Construct in this format might actually be a hard card for people to deal with. Never would have guessed that in my life, but, it does make sense. You've also got triple copies of King of the Swamp to be acting as that fusion subber. Also, hilariously enough, Millennium Eyes getting a chance to do some very disgusting things. If you have to go second, obviously you have Dark Roller No More's built into the main deck. The fact that we have board breakers that we can access to be able to tear apart the opponent, I think is really, really strong. So good to see, you know, a Shadal variant coming to town. Next up, we had Matthew's Radiant Typhoon Challenger. Now this list kind of making concessions from the previous list. You know, we're not maximizing on Shield Bearer. Instead, you know, we're taking a little bit of a step back here and we're testing things out. You know, we're going with one copy of Droplet, which is fine. But they also chose to play triple Chalice in here as well. Chalice, I think, is a great call to format, especially, you know, if freaking Crocea is coming down, you know, being able to blink it is pretty good. We've also got the Final Bringer of the End of Times. The spell card's very, very strong. Same thing with the Econs, to try to clean up those more problematic cards that your opponent is really being left with, I think is fine. Also, you know, you have the Generator Boss Monster you can access. You have a lot of interesting little pathways that it kind of feels like you can deviate down with this list, and I actually kind of like that. Options is a good thing. Next up is Dwayne's Utopic Future Pile. I do see that we are playing the Primal Dragon in here, which is good. And of course, anytime you get to see double or nothing, you know there's probably going to be some... Are we not even playing... We're playing this Utopia. We're not even playing the base Utopia to do the funny OTK shenanigans with. That's kind of sad, actually. I would have loved to have seen that. You know, you don't have the Dodo stuff to kind of cheese your opponent with anymore because it's so heavily costed, but you still have access to the Surfacing Big Jaws. You have access to the Tachyon Dragon. You know, you have good cards to be able to get set up and go. And I also see we're doing the Leo Arms Utopia lock on the opponent. I can imagine how fun that must have been. Also main decking Nibiru's, because I can't imagine in this format a lot of players are going to be respecting Nibiru. He's just going to be a card that's just going to kind of exist and, you know, try to punish the opponent from there. Next up, we have Samuel's Regenesis Vanquish Soul Pile. Now, there's a lot going on here. The fact that we managed to get in the fat one and still have room for things is crazy. I see we've also got the Archfiend in here, which I guess this does act as another particular thing to add another art. It adds an Archfiend, which actually, if you do need to pivot into that, can actually win you games. But I mean, in terms of your Vanquish Soul core, this is a lot of where your point dedication was going to, but also you're maximizing on shifters here. Shifter was definitely, I feel like, one of those cards that you were able to use to really get the job done with this, which is kind of nice. Outside of that, I mean, you have the tribute section here. You have the junk Karibos, in case you need them. You've got Vidoses to mess around with field spells if need be, if, you know, those troublesome interactions do end up coming up. Next up, we have Matthew's Monarch Pile. And I love the fact that just straight away, pot agreed, pot agreed, pot agreed. Yep, that's where we're dedicating things to our points to, and then one single Perulia. Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, Monarchs are just going to kind of rely on breaking apart the opponent's field, and that's what Genesys is right now. You build field, I break apart and start using Monarch cards to control the opponent. I mean, I think we all understand why this deck is a decent challenger within this format. And it's also not like this deck didn't just top an event or anything here. It just topped a regional and actual Yu-Gi-Oh! So, you know, you've got this deck that's just really, really strong at what it does. So I'm not all that surprised to see that, you know, players are kind of looking to this as an option to kind of, you know, do the thing. Also, Gauntlet Launcher, if you actually make that your MVP. Good stuff, good stuff. And then we have the Cool Tune list from the event. You know, with what little point restrictions you have on this deck, you feel like this deck would do a little bit better, but Decatron? Oh? Alright, well, first of all, this deck's getting some spicy stuff in here. I guess we're just trying to turn this Decatron into a Deviati. But also, you have Heralds out the wazoo here to act as hand traps to kind of deviate the opponent. That's actually kind of cool. I see we're playing the Night End Sorcerer down here with the with this as well. That's interesting for attack choice. We also have double reframing and so forth. Wow. This is a lot more innovative than I kind of expected. But I mean, this Genesys event really showcased some of the cool options that were available and I kind of liked it. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.